As I sat at the kitchen table, the morning light filtered through the sheer curtains, casting delicate shadows across the countertop. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, and I absently stirred a spoonful of sugar into my cup, my mind drifting as I watched Emily move gracefully around the kitchen. She was the picture of domestic bliss, her sun-kissed hair tied up in a loose bun, her form-fitting yoga pants accentuating the curves that had always captivated me. We had been married for over a decade, and while I cherished the comfort of our routine, there was an underlying tension that I couldn't shake. Emily had been spending late nights at work more often returning home with a flushed complexion that I attributed to long hours. But there was something else, something deeper in the way she smiled at her phone or laughed a little too hard at her emails. That afternoon, while tidying up our living room, I stumbled upon an envelope with an unfamiliar handwriting on it, tucked away beneath the couch. My heart raced as I pulled it out and opened it. Inside were a series of text messages between Emily and David, her boss. As I read the words, my stomach dropped. They were filled with flirtation, playful banter, and suggestive undertones that I had never imagined would be exchanged between them. I felt a mix of rage and disbelief swirling within me. My thoughts drifted back to the night we had hosted a small gathering for her colleagues a few weeks ago. David had been charming, effortlessly engaging everyone with his stories. I remembered how Emily had laughed at his jokes, the way her eyes sparkled as she leaned in closer to him, seemingly unaware of how it affected me. That evening, while I grilled burgers outside, I'd caught them sneaking glances at one another, their chemistry palpable, and it felt like a tight knot forming in my chest. In the following days, I became hyper-aware of Emily's movements. I noted the way she would change outfits multiple times before heading to work, how she applied a touch more makeup, and the new perfume that lingered in the air when she returned home. It was intoxicating, yet it stung with a bitterness I couldn't ignore. One evening, as I sat in my workshop, carving a piece of wood into a delicate figure, I heard her come in late. I glanced at the clock. It was well past midnight. The sound of her heels clicking against the hardwood floor sent a shiver down my spine. I could smell her perfume even before she stepped into the dim light of the room. "Hey, love," she said, her voice laced with exhaustion, but her smile was bright, almost too bright. "Long day?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral, the tension thick in the air. "Yeah, you know how it is," she replied, but I could see a flicker of something behind her eyes. Was it guilt or excitement? As she approached, I couldn't help but notice how her dress clung to her body, accentuating her curves. My heart raced, torn between the desire I still felt for her and the anger that brewed beneath the surface. "Want to join me for a drink?" I suggested, trying to keep the atmosphere light despite the storm brewing within me. "Sure," she said, her smile softening. We poured ourselves glasses of red wine, and I took a moment to admire her. There was something beautifully alluring about her, even now, and a part of me craved her presence, even as I battled with the betrayal lurking in my mind. As we settled on the couch, the wine warming our veins, I decided to push past the facade of normalcy. "How's work been?" I asked, watching her closely. "It's been good," she replied, her eyes darting away for just a moment, betraying her unease. "David's been really supportive with everything." I could feel my pulse quicken at the mention of his name. "Really supportive, huh?" I probed, my voice steady. "Sounds like you two are getting closer." She chuckled lightly, but the laughter felt hollow. "He's just a great boss, Sydney. You know how stressful things can be." But I knew better. I watched her closely, waiting for the truth to slip through her carefully crafted responses. And in that moment, as I felt the weight of my suspicions bearing down on me, I realized I was standing on the precipice of a painful revelation. The thrill of her presence mixed with the dread of the truth left me in a state of confusion, caught between love and betrayal, longing and anger. My heart raced as I thought about how far their relationship might have gone. What kind of intimacy had they shared? The image of Emily's lips brushing against another man's lingered in my mind, a dark cloud that loomed over our evening. I pushed those thoughts aside, forcing myself to focus on her. "Emily," I said, taking a breath. "Is there something you want to tell me?" She looked at me, surprise flickering across her features. but her eyes betrayed a flicker of fear. The silence stretched between us, heavy with unspoken words. I could see the struggle within her, caught between honesty and the desire to protect whatever facade she had created. She hesitated, her voice trailing off. It was then that I knew the truth would come, whether I was ready for it or not. The silence hung heavily in the air, thick with tension and uncertainty. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, each beat echoing the growing dread of what was to come. Emily shifted in her seat, her gaze drifting away as if searching for the right words hidden in the shadows of the room. I don't know how to say this, she finally whispered, her voice trembling slightly. There was an honesty in her tone that made my stomach twist. Just tell me, Emily, I urged, leaning forward, the wine glass forgotten in my hand. I needed to hear it from her, needed to confront the truth, no matter how painful it would be. She took a deep breath, her eyes glistening under the soft light of the lamp. David and we've gotten closer. It's been complicated. I felt the ground shift beneath me, the realization crashing over me like a wave. Closer how? I asked, the edge of my voice laced with an urgency that I couldn't suppress. I didn't mean for it to happen. We've been working late together, and I guess we just clicked, she said, her cheeks flushing a deep shade of crimson. He's charismatic, Sydney. I was drawn to him. I closed my eyes for a moment, the pain clawing at my chest. Drawn to him how? What exactly happened between you two? The questions poured out of me, desperate for clarity, yet each one cut deeper than the last. Her gaze faltered, and I could see the struggle in her eyes. It started with innocent flirting, and then, there were moments, she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. We kissed once, and it just spiraled from there. I never meant for it to go this far. My breath itched, the image of their lips pressed together igniting a fire of jealousy within me. What else, Emily? Did you sleep with him? Her silence spoke volumes. I could see the guilt washing over her features, the way she bit her lip as if to suppress the truth that lingered just beneath the surface. Yes, she finally confessed, the word escaping her lips like a reluctant admission of defeat. We were at his place one night after a dinner with clients. One thing led to another. The admission felt like a knife twisting in my gut. A visceral anger mixed with a primal need surged through me, and yet, amidst the fury, there was an unexpected thrill, an intimate understanding that the boundaries of our relationship were shifting in ways I had never anticipated. Did you enjoy it? I asked, my voice low, probing. I needed to know if there was something more than just physical pleasure. She looked at me, her eyes wide with surprise at my question. Sydney, I don't know how to answer that. In the moment, it felt exhilarating. He's so different from you, confident, bold, and there's a thrill in the secrecy. As she spoke, a wave of emotions washed over me, betrayal, confusion, and a strange fascination with the dynamics of her infidelity. And what about us, Emily? What do you feel for me now? Her gaze softened, tears pooling in her eyes. I love you, Sydney. You have to believe that. But I got caught up in something I didn't expect. It's complicated, and I hate myself for it. The air between us crackled with a charged energy, and despite the heartbreak, I found myself drawn to her. The intimacy we once shared felt fragile, yet there was a part of me that still longed to reach out, to hold her, to reconnect. I leaned closer, the space between us narrowing, our breaths mingling in the dim light. I can't pretend this doesn't hurt, I said, my voice thick with emotion. But I also can't ignore the fact that this has awakened something in me. Her eyes searched mine, confusion and curiosity dancing within them. What do you mean? I don't know, but the thought of you with him ignites something I can't quite explain. It's like a dark thrill, a part of me that wonders if I could embrace this, if we could navigate this together. Emily's breath itched, her lips parted slightly as if to say something more, but the tension hung between us, thick and palpable. I could see the spark of desire igniting in her gaze, the realization dawning on both of us that our relationship had shifted irreversibly. Sydney, are you saying what I think you're saying? She asked, her voice trembling. Maybe, I replied, feeling a rush of adrenaline course through me. What if we could explore this together? What if I could find a way to accept what you've done and turn this pain into something different? Her eyes widened with intrigue, a mix of fear and excitement flickering across her features. You mean, you would be okay with it? With me being with him? I don't know if I'm okay with it, but the thought of it is stirring something within me, I confessed, my heart racing. I want to understand, to feel what you felt, to embrace the darker side of our desires. As the words hung in the air, the room felt charged with possibility. The boundaries of our relationship began to blur, and I could sense a shift, a temptation that pulled us closer together. The emotional turmoil transformed into a complex web of intrigue, and I found myself leaning in, caught in the magnetic pull of our connection. In that moment, everything changed. Our lives intertwined in a dance of desire, betrayal, and the hope of rediscovering the intimacy we once shared. I reached out, brushing my fingers against her cheek, the warmth of her skin igniting a fire within me. Let's figure this out together, I whispered, feeling a mixture of fear and exhilaration as we stood on the brink of something new, something that could either bind us closer or tear us apart completely. The air between us crackled with a tension that felt both thrilling and terrifying. As I held her gaze, I could see the uncertainty mirrored in her eyes, but also an undeniable spark of intrigue. I had just laid bare my feelings, exposing a vulnerability I never expected to embrace. Sydney, are you sure about this? Emily asked, her voice trembling slightly. She leaned closer, her breath warm against my skin, and I felt my resolve waver. I don't know what the future holds, but I want to explore this, I replied, my heart racing. I want to understand why this happened, and if we can turn it into something that works for both of us. As the words left my mouth, I noticed the way her lips parted slightly, a mix of surprise and excitement dancing in her expression. It was intoxicating to see her uncertainty fade, replaced by a thrill of possibility. What if we? She hesitated, a blush creeping up her cheeks. What if we invite David into this conversation? What if I told him we're open to exploring things differently? The idea sent a shiver down my spine. The notion of involving him, her lover, felt dangerous and enticing all at once. Are you serious? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Emily nodded, her eyes shining with a mix of mischief and excitement. I don't want to hide this from you anymore. I want us to be open about our desires, even if it's messy. The thought of David being in our lives in such an intimate way sent a rush of adrenaline through me. And what do you want from me, Emily? I asked, leaning closer, my breath mingling with hers. What if I said I'm willing to see where this takes us? I want you to embrace this with me, she replied, her voice low and sultry. I want us to redefine our boundaries, to explore what this can mean for our marriage. As she spoke, I could feel the heat radiating between us, the chemistry simmering just below the surface. The idea of being so intertwined with her, and with David, was both thrilling and terrifying. It felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, ready to dive into unknown waters. Okay, I said, my heart racing. Let's see where this takes us. But I want to set some ground rules. Emily smiled, a glimmer of excitement flashing in her eyes. What kind of rules? I want to be honest with each other about everything, no secrets. If you're going to explore things with him, I want to know about it. And I want you to tell me how it makes you feel. Agreed, she said, her voice steady. But I also want you to be open to your own experiences. If this works, it might mean bringing someone into our lives together. Maybe even together. The idea of it sent a thrill through me, our lives intertwining with another, expanding in ways I had never imagined. I leaned closer, the distance between us disappearing as I reached for her. Our lips brushed softly, igniting a spark that had long been dormant. The kiss was tentative at first, an exploration of our new reality, but it quickly deepened as our passions collided. Emily melted against me, her body responding to the heat of the moment. I pulled her closer, my hands roaming along her back, savoring the feel of her warmth. The kiss ignited a fire within me, a mix of love, desire, and the thrill of the unknown. As we broke apart, her cheeks flushed, and I could see the mixture of emotions swirling within her. This feels right, she whispered, her breath coming in soft gasps. It feels like we're stepping into something new together. Yeah, I replied, my heart racing. But we have to be careful. This isn't just a game, it's our lives. I know, she said, biting her lip, a playful smile creeping across her face. But the thrill of it is exhilarating. I want to feel that excitement again, together. With those words, I felt a surge of desire mixed with apprehension. Let's take this step by step. Tonight, let's focus on us, and then we'll figure out how to navigate this new path together. She nodded, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm, and I could feel the tension shift again, this time to a lighter, more playful energy. As the evening unfolded, we fell into a rhythm of laughter and shared glances, exploring the intimate corners of our relationship. The shadows of betrayal still loomed, but they were tempered by a newfound connection, a desire to understand and redefine our love. The warmth of the wine coursed through my veins, loosening my inhibitions as I reached for her again. This time, our kiss was more fervent, more passionate, as we embraced the possibility of what lay ahead. With each kiss, I felt the weight of the past begin to lift, replaced by a thrilling anticipation for the future. As we explored each other's bodies with a hunger that had been rekindled, I realized that while the road ahead might be complicated, it was also filled with potential, a chance to rediscover not just Emily, but ourselves. The thought of David lingered in the back of my mind, but for now, all that mattered was the warmth of Emily in my arms, the intimacy we were rebuilding. And as our bodies entwined, I felt a sense of hope blooming amid the chaos, a belief that perhaps, just perhaps, we could emerge stronger from the storm that had threatened to tear us apart. The night unfolded like a soft, warm blanket enveloping us in the cozy intimacy of our home. With each kiss, I felt the tension between us dissolve further, the lingering pain of betrayal morphing into something more visceral, an awakening of our desires and a reimagining of our connection. Emily melted against me, her body pressing closer, igniting a fire that pulsed through my veins. As I pulled her onto my lap, our lips parted momentarily, allowing us to catch our breath. The room was filled with the muted sounds of the city outside, but inside, it felt like we were in our own little world, cocooned from the chaos. I brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear, my fingers lingering on her soft skin. "You're beautiful," I murmured, my voice thick with emotion. Her cheeks flushed a deeper shade of crimson, and she looked up at me, her eyes sparkling with a mixture of desire and uncertainty. "You know, I've always loved the way you look at me," she said softly, her voice a sultry whisper that sent a shiver down my spine. "I want to look at you like that forever," I replied, leaning in to capture her lips once more. The kiss deepened, a delicious mix of passion and longing. As our mouths moved in sync, I could feel her breath quickening, matching the rhythm of my heart. Breaking the kiss, I gazed into her eyes, searching for any remnants of hesitation. "Are you sure you want this? To explore what we've talked about?" "I am," she said firmly, her breath hitching as I traced my fingers along her waist, feeling the warmth radiating from her body. "But I want us to enjoy this moment first. Just us." I nodded, feeling a surge of excitement rush through me. "Just us, then." With that, I stood and guided her to the bedroom, the atmosphere thick with anticipation. The soft glow of the bedside lamp illuminated our path, casting gentle shadows across the walls. As we entered the room, I took a moment to soak in the sight of her, her body silhouetted against the light, the soft fabric of her dress clinging to her curves. I took my time, slowly peeling the fabric away from her skin, revealing her little by little. Each inch of her body that I uncovered felt like a treasure, a gift I had longed for amidst the chaos of our lives. She shivered under my touch, her skin warm and inviting as I kissed along her shoulders, trailing my lips down to the delicate curve of her neck. "God, you're so captivating," I breathed, savoring the taste of her skin as I explored her body. Emily gasped softly, her fingers threading through my hair as she encouraged me to continue. "Don't stop," she whispered, her voice a mixture of command and pleading. I reveled in her desire, my hands exploring her curves, mapping the landscape of her body with reverence. With every caress, I felt the bond between us strengthening, the betrayal of the past slowly fading as I lost myself in the rhythm of her breath. As I trailed kisses down her body, I could feel her heart racing, her body responding eagerly to my touch. I paused to look up at her, meeting her gaze as I continued to explore. "You're incredible," I murmured, my lips brushing against her skin, igniting a spark of electricity that sent shivers down her spine. "Sydney," she gasped, her voice thick with desire, urging me to keep going. Emboldened, I pressed my lips to her soft stomach, trailing lower, savoring the taste of her skin. As I kissed my way down, I could hear the sharp intake of her breath, the way her body arched toward me as I continued my exploration. I felt her fingers gripping the sheets, her body responding to every touch, every kiss, each moment bringing us closer together. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible, yet filled with longing. "I need you." I looked up at her, my heart pounding at the vulnerability in her request. "You have me," I said, my voice low and steady. I crawled back up her body, capturing her lips in a passionate kiss that spoke of our shared desires, the fear of the unknown slowly melting away. As we lost ourselves in each other, the weight of our past began to dissipate, replaced by the raw intensity of the moment. With every kiss, every whisper, we explored not just each other's bodies but the depths of our emotional connection. "Let's not hold back," Emily breathed against my lips, her eyes dark with desire. "Let's make this night unforgettable." I nodded, feeling a rush of adrenaline surge through me. We moved together, a synchronized dance of passion and exploration, allowing our bodies to communicate what words could not. I savored the feel of her skin against mine, the way she arched into me, encouraging me to go deeper, to explore the shadows and light of our relationship. With the world outside fading away, we discovered a new layer of intimacy, a vulnerability that transformed our connection into something powerful and profound. As the night wore on, we surrendered ourselves to the thrill of rediscovery, knowing that whatever lay ahead, we were stepping into it together, hand in hand, heart to heart. And as dawn began to break, casting soft light through the windows, I realized that while our journey would be complicated, it was also filled with endless possibilities, an adventure we were willing to embrace, no matter how unpredictable the path might be. As dawn's soft light began to filter through the curtains, painting the room in hues of gold, I found myself tangled in the sheets with Emily, our bodies still humming from the intensity of the night. The air was thick with a blend of warmth and intimacy, each breath I took filled with the scent of her skin and the remnants of our passion. I turned to face her, my heart swelling as I watched her sleep, her lashes fluttering against her cheeks. It struck me how beautiful she looked, even in slumber, and I couldn't help but reach out to brush a strand of hair away from her face. In that moment, I felt an overwhelming urge to protect this fragile connection we had rekindled. As if sensing my gaze, Emily stirred, her eyes slowly fluttering open. When she met my gaze, a sleepy smile broke across her face, lighting up her features in a way that made my heart skip a beat. "Morning," she murmured, her voice thick with sleep. "Good morning, beautiful," I replied, unable to suppress my smile in return. "Last night was incredible," she said, stretching languidly, the movement causing her skin to shimmer in the morning light. I watched, captivated, as she arched her back, revealing the delicate curve of her waist and the soft swell of her breasts. "I feel like we've crossed some kind of threshold," I said, still absorbing the reality of the moment. "It's like we've unlocked something new between us." Her expression turned contemplative, and I could see her mind racing through the implications of our actions. "What do you think this means for us?" she asked, her tone serious, yet the glimmer of excitement remained in her eyes. "I think it means we have to navigate this together," I replied, shifting closer, my hand instinctively finding her waist. "But I also think it opens up a world of possibilities." "Possibilities," she echoed, her voice dropping to a sultry whisper. "Like inviting David into our lives more actively?" The thought sent a thrill through me, igniting the embers of desire that still flickered within. "Yes," I said, my voice steady. "But only if we're both comfortable with it." Emily bit her lip, a playful smile dancing on her face. "What if we talk about what it would be like to bring him into this newfound intimacy?" The idea both excited and terrified me. "We could explore how that would work, together." But I want to know everything," I added, my tone firm yet curious. "I want you to tell me what you desire, what you want from him, and how you want to explore those boundaries." She nodded slowly, the weight of our conversation settling between us like a living thing. "I can do that," she said, her eyes locked onto mine, filled with a mix of fear and anticipation. "But I also want to share this moment with you right now. No more talking, let's feel instead." As the words left her lips, I felt a rush of desire surge through me. "You're right," I said, my voice low and thick with longing. I pulled her closer, the heat of her body against mine igniting every nerve ending. With a swift motion, I rolled us over so that I was hovering above her, our bodies entwined, the sheets slipping down to expose her bare skin. I leaned down, capturing her lips with mine, the kiss igniting a fire that spread through my entire being. Her hands tangled in my hair as she kissed me back, her body arching beneath me, craving more. "Sydney," she breathed against my lips, her voice thick with need. "I want to feel you, now." I relished the way her voice turned into a pleading whisper, and it sent a shiver of desire coursing through me. I kissed my way down her neck, savoring the soft skin, the sweet taste of her warmth, as I moved lower, trailing kisses along her collarbone. With each kiss, I felt her body respond to me, every sigh and gasp pushing me further into a heady haze of desire. I could feel her heart racing beneath my touch, the warmth radiating from her body as I explored every inch of her with my lips and hands. "God, you feel so good," she whispered, her fingers digging into my shoulders as I kissed lower, my mouth moving over her soft skin. I took my time, relishing the way she reacted to my touch, the way her body arched toward me as I traveled lower, planting kisses along the swell of her breasts. "Tell me what you want, Emily," I murmured, my breath hot against her skin. "I want to know how to make you feel everything. I want you," she gasped, her voice trembling with need. "I want all of you, Sydney. Please." The urgency in her voice sent a rush of adrenaline through me, and I positioned myself between her legs, capturing her gaze as I pressed my body against hers. "You have me," I assured her, my heart racing in sync with her breath. I leaned down, kissing her deeply, feeling her surrender completely to the moment. The room filled with the sounds of our passion, the soft moans, the whispers of our desires, as we lost ourselves in each other once more. The intensity of our connection grew, fueled by the newfound understanding that our relationship was evolving in ways we never anticipated. With each caress, each kiss, I could feel the bond between us solidifying, transforming the pain of betrayal into a raw exploration of passion and intimacy. And as we moved together, bodies entwined, I realized that no matter where this journey took us, I was ready to embrace it all, every thrill, every challenge, and every moment of discovery. In that space, I felt a sense of hope rising, intertwining with the warmth of our shared bodies. We were stepping into a new reality, one filled with infinite possibilities, where love and desire coexisted in a beautiful, chaotic dance. As we surrendered to the moment, the world outside faded away, leaving just Emily and me entwined in a cocoon of warmth and passion. Every touch ignited a fire within, reminding us of the connection we shared, the trust we were rebuilding amidst the chaos of our lives. Our bodies moved in harmony, a dance fueled by unspoken desires and an understanding that we were venturing into uncharted territory. I could feel the pulse of her heart matching my own, each beat echoing the rhythm of our intimacy. With every kiss, every gentle caress, we poured our emotions into one another, weaving a tapestry of love and longing that promised a brighter future. "Sydney," she gasped, her fingers curling into the sheets as I explored the curves of her body, the softness of her skin igniting every nerve ending within me. "This feels so right. I never want it to end." The sincerity in her voice sent a wave of emotion crashing over me. "It doesn't have to end," I replied, my lips brushing against her ear as I spoke, sending shivers down her spine. "We can create something beautiful from this. Together." With renewed vigor, we lost ourselves in each other once more, the outside world slipping away entirely. I reveled in the taste of her skin, the intoxicating scent of her hair, the way her body responded to my every movement. This was not just a moment of physical connection, it was a reaffirmation of our love, a promise that we would navigate the complexities of our relationship side by side. As we reached the pinnacle of our passion, the intensity built between us, every sigh and whisper fueling the fire that consumed us. "I love you, Emily," I murmured, my voice thick with desire. "I love you more than you know." She looked up at me, her eyes sparkling with emotion, and I could see the depth of her feelings reflected back at me. "I love you too, Sydney. I want to explore every part of this with you, our love, our desires, everything." With that shared understanding, we fell into a rhythm, the culmination of our passion building until it surged through us, a powerful wave that swept us both away. In those moments, everything else ceased to exist: the betrayal, the confusion. All that remained was the pure connection between us. As we lay together, breathless and intertwined, I felt a profound sense of relief wash over me. The path ahead would undoubtedly be complicated, but the love we shared would guide us through the uncertainty. Together, we would face whatever challenges arose, knowing that our bond had been forged in fire and tempered by understanding. The dawn light filtered into the room, casting a soft glow around us as we lay in the aftermath of our intimacy, the warmth of our bodies slowly cooling. I could hear the distant sounds of the city waking up outside, but in this moment, it felt as if we were the only two people in the world. "I can't believe we've come this far," Emily said softly, her fingers tracing patterns on my chest. "It feels like a fresh start." "It is a fresh start," I replied, my heart swelling with hope. "We've both made mistakes, but this is our chance to redefine our relationship. We can navigate this together, on our own terms." She smiled, a radiant expression filled with determination. "I want that. I want us to be open, to communicate and explore everything we desire. And I want you to know that no matter what happens, you'll always be my priority." As we lay together, the sun rising higher in the sky, I knew that while the journey ahead would be fraught with challenges, it was also filled with endless possibilities. Emily and I were embarking on a new chapter, one where love, trust, and intimacy would intertwine in ways we had yet to imagine. Together, we would face whatever came next, stepping boldly into the unknown, hand in hand, ready to explore the depths of our love and the complexities of our desires. In that moment, I felt a sense of peace settle within me, a conviction that we could build something extraordinary from the ashes of our past. As we drifted into a comfortable silence, I held her close, savoring the warmth of her body against mine. No matter what the future held, I knew one thing for certain: we were in this together, and that made all the difference.